Okay, so here I am at the Sa Tau Kok bus station. So if you come to Sa Tau Kok, this is where you will get dropped off. Either you come by minibus or by bus. If you look way down there, that's the checkpoint. When you come in, they will check your closed area permit and your ID to get in. You get dropped off here. And if you walk this way, there is the old Sa Tau Kok fire station, which there's a little plaque there that gives you some information about the old fire station. There's a little bit of a square here. Looks like not too much is open, maybe because tomorrow is Chinese New Year. Everything's closed, but tomorrow is the public holiday, not today. But yeah, here is the old fire station, and there is somebody here giving out information for tourists. And then here is the old post office. It's still a working post office, and I think they're selling some type of souvenirs and stuff, postcards. All right, so yeah, nice little square here. Public housing estates, very Hong Kong. Yeah, like a Hong Kong village, not too dissimilar to the small village I live in. Later I'll show you something else that's similar to where I live, but here we have Chan Chan Tang. Yeah, I've eaten there a couple of times. Pretty good little Chan Chan Tang, very local, nothing out of the ordinary for Hong Kong. Welcome Supermarket, right? One of the two supermarket chains that have a duopoly here in Hong Kong. Here is the entrance to the public housing estate here. It's actually kind of a famous little spot. You can see the dragons at the top, and that's supposed to be a pearl representing this village, Sa Tau Kok. And here are the elephants, apparently from a feng shui master, right? Feng shui. So you're supposed to rub the elephant's nose, this one with its up, for good luck, wealth, and fortune. And then you come over to the other elephant and you rub his nose to preserve and keep your good luck, if you believe in that type of stuff. Okay, so now here across the street we have the Zhongying Street Garden, is what it's called. This was newly built just when they decided to open this area for tourists, because this area, as I mentioned, they'll check your closed area permit when you come in here, and that's because until the beginning of last year, only residents and people with permits could come in here, but you could only get a permit if you were like visiting like a relative or had an invitation from a resident to come in here. Otherwise it was pretty much impossible to get the closed area permit. But starting in December 2023, they started issuing permits starting in January 2024, so that basically anybody can apply and come here now to this village, Sa Tau Kok. So they built this Zhongying Street Garden for tourists, and it's called Zhongying Street Garden because here is the go walk up here so you can get a better view. But here is the, you see, Zhongying Street checkpoint, right? They actually, this building is very new because I came here in January 2024 and this building wasn't here yet. It was actually much simpler. They had a wall there and it had the Zhongying Street like sign there. Actually, I think the old one was nicer. You could take a picture with it better. This one, yeah, I mean, it's bigger, it's taller, but not as accessible as the old one. Although the guard post is, you know, entry and exit, because you can't see it. Well, maybe you can just see it just down there. So that barrier is blocking Zhongying Street. So Zhongying Street is that street down there. If I raise it up, if you can see that stone marker there in the middle of the road, That is actually the border between Hong Kong and mainland China. I'll walk down there in just a minute. But yeah, that's the border. So only Sa Tau Kok residents can cross the border from Hong Kong into mainland China here. So if you're a Hong Konger that has a residence permit for Sa Tau Kok, you can cross over to Zhongying Street and to mainland China. But nobody else, neither mainland Chinese or other Hong Kongers, tourists, nobody can go else can go down there. Even if you have the permit for this area, you can't go down to Zhongying Street. And it's called Zhongying Street because Zhong is for Zhongguok, so China. Zhong is for China, and Ying is for Yingguok, which is the United Kingdom, or sometimes called England incorrectly, but yeah. So Zhongying is for China England Street sometimes, or China United Kingdom Street would be a better translation. And that's because on the other side of that stone marker is mainland China, and this side was, British Hong Kong. All right, so walk down there. I'll get you as close as we can to Zhongying Street and take a look. Yeah, so like I said, this building is new. Within the last year they put it up. So like I said, only residents can cross the border there. This is Cheping Street. You can see that it's called Cheping Street, right, in English, but here is the old street sign, Car Park Street, and you can see how the Chinese is written the opposite direction as well, Cheping Gai, right? This is the old one. It's a translated street name instead of phonetic in Cantonese. So we'll go down here. There's a restaurant, and you can see, so the store on this side is in Hong Kong, and the stores on that side that are closed are in mainland China. So today it is a public holiday in mainland China, but not a public holiday in Hong Kong. Tomorrow starts the public holiday in Hong Kong, which is only 3 days. So you can see there's the marker, right? That stone marker is the barrier between Hong Kong and mainland China. And Zhongying Street, so it's a street that's right there. It was built, or they paved the road, made it a street because it was the border, because there was a river here that separated Hong Kong from mainland China, and the river dried up, and so they made a street, put the stone markers, and that's how it became the border and a border village. All right, so I'll go out here. You can see this is the exit entry from the other side if you're coming into Hong Kong. So that's new. When I was here last year, it was just a policeman, like a customs immigration person, sitting on a stool right there, just checking IDs. And now they built this building and made it, much fancier than it used to be. All right, so here we are back to the garden I showed you before. Here's the other side of the street. So yeah, a lot of things are already closed in anticipation of Chinese New Year. Like I said, the holiday starts tomorrow in Hong Kong, but starts today in mainland China. All right, so coming up here, the top of Car Park Street, Cheping Gai, they built this again for tourists as well. It's a fake little Sa Tau Kok train station. It's because there used to be a spur line of the Kowloon Canton Railroad that came out here. It's no longer here, of course. The station's completely gone, nothing's left. But they put this train here, and they put some plaques explaining the history. You can see here in Chinese it's written backwards like in old Chinese, Sa Tau Kok for Zhang, which means Sa Tau Kok train station. So yeah, they put this little up. You can come here, take pictures. The vanished Sa Tau Kok branch line, you can read about it, how there used to be a train line. It used to come out this way, and if we go down here, this alleyway, we will come out to some old shop houses here in Sa Tau Kok. Yeah, so just wait a minute, we'll walk down there. So yeah, there's a lot of villagers still here. I think here is the market. The wet market is in this building over here. Yeah, just down here we'll see the shop houses and the ferry pier. Sa Tau Kok public ferry pier is actually the longest ferry pier in Hong Kong, surprisingly enough. You know, Hong Kong still has quite a few active and working ferry piers, but most of them aren't that long actually. The ones Tsim Sha Tsui are really docks, not much of piers. Saigon has a couple of long ferry piers, but this one's longer. Okay, so down here is the road I was telling you about. So we'll go here first and then to the ferry pier and Starling Harbor. But here is Sun Lao Street, and these are the shop houses. So this building, again, this is a mural they put up, and they put this up in the last year, I guess, for the expected tourism boom. So yeah, these are the old shop houses on this side, and you know, they're actually grade 2 historic buildings in Hong Kong. They're actually spruced up a little bit from last year, but still not in the best condition. But they're old and they're still in use for the most part, which is pretty cool. And Hong Kong police force, you can't really get a good look, and this is kind of dumpy. It wasn't this bad last year either, but that little window shows you across into mainland China. And yeah, everything seems to be closed in mainland China for the holiday today, which last time I was here a year ago wasn't quite Chinese New Year, and so there was a lot of mainland Chinese on the other side shopping and doing tourist activities, because mainland Chinese can get a permit to go to the Chinese side. Hong Kongers and foreigners cannot go to the Chinese side. Only mainland Chinese can get a permit, whereas foreigners and tourists and Hong Kongers, anybody can get a permit now for the Hong Kong side. But you can't go onto that street over there, Zhongying Street, unless you're mainland Chinese, and even then you can't cross the border. Only Sa Tau Kok residents can do that. So this, again, this restaurant, or it says marketplace, this is new. This wasn't here last year. I guess it's built for tourists, but it's closed today. Okay, so just ahead of me is Starling Harbor. At least it's called Starling Harbor in Hong Kong. It might be called Yanting Gong or Yanting Harbor in China, because, or it might be the further part in there, because Yanting village in Shenzhen is down there. So here is the border we can see. Get past here. So that is where the river, the old river, used to let out into here, but there's no more river. And you can see those buildings over there, those are in mainland China, and you can see the barbed wire and stuff keeping people from crossing the border illegally from mainland China into Hong Kong. And yeah, somebody on a bike over there, a guard tower, police station, and the residents here in mainland China, Sa Tau Kok. These are their buildings. All right, so yeah, this is Starling Harbor, and you can see here there's a sign. It says Cape of Sa Tau Kok. So yeah, and here is the aforementioned ferry pier, the longest ferry pier in Hong Kong, which it's long but not that long, so a little bit surprised it's the longest in Hong Kong. So Sa Tau Kok public pier. Today is a Tuesday and it's not a public holiday in Hong Kong, so on Tuesdays that aren't public holidays, the pier doesn't have any ferries operating. Every other day though, this pier has ferries that operate to go to some of the outlying islands in Hong Kong. I think like Gat-O, Crooked Island, and a couple other islands have ferry service from here. So now that you can get a permit to come to this closed area, it's actually a really good place to come to get ferries to visit some of the outlying islands in Hong Kong. So I definitely want to come back again and get a ferry from here one day, because I've been to most of the publicly accessible islands in Hong Kong, but just a couple of the ones out here that I haven't. So yeah, it makes it easier to get there, because otherwise I think there was some other ferry piers that are very hard to get to that can take you, or you can hire a boat, but that's expensive. It just makes it easier if you can come out here. All right, so yeah, if you can see, it is quite a long ferry pier. Mural again, I think that's new from the last year. So Zhongying Street, yeah. And here we can see the working harbor on the Chinese side down there, right? So I mean, in Hong Kong has a lot of harbors that are more accessible, so this one's not really used for much except for some small fishing boats and stuff. But Shenzhen, which is a big port, you know, Shenzhen has an east side coastline on the east of Hong Kong and a west side coastline on the west of Hong Kong. Neither are really the best because Hong Kong has the prime spot, but they got to use what they got to use in mainland China. So it's a working port over there. See some pretty big ships for kind of this small harbor. You can see the contrast with the Hong Kong side, right? I think these are like fish farms, and I think they're also for pearls or something like that. I've been out there on a boat one time to similar places in Hong Kong. Sometimes they have floating restaurants in Hong Kong on those little platforms in the water out here, because this is, you know, it's near to Saigon, actually, just a bit north of Saigon. So quite a beautiful picturesque spot in Hong Kong. It actually reminds me quite a bit of northern Vietnam when I was out there on a boat. Very similar look and similar type of practices going on, at least on the Hong Kong side nowadays. Not so much on the mainland side, where it's kind of closed off and you know, more industrial harbor, not as laid back and rural on the Hong Kong side. So that shows you the difference. Like, we're far from you know, the city center in Hong Kong, and so this is considered a rural area in Hong Kong, whereas in mainland China, downtown, you know, Shenzhen is all along the border with Hong Kong. So this is like almost a city center in a way for Shenzhen. At least it's a really built up urban area, where it's not the case in Hong Kong at all. Don't know what that thing in the water is meant to be or what it's for. Again, it wasn't here last year, so okay, the longest ferry pier in Hong Kong. We've come to the end. Hopefully we can get a good view now. The Hong Kong side, and down there the mainland Chinese side. Alright, very nice. And Sa Tau Kok, island hopping from Sa Tau Kok. That's what I was talking about. So they have Sa Tau Kok to Lai Chi Wo, Gat-O, Tau, which should be like Duck Island, and back to Sa Tau Kok. This one, number 2, Sa Tau Kok, Tau, Gat-O, Lai Chi Wo, back to Sa Tau Kok. So I'll go different islands, different order to the islands. Lai Chi Wo, Gat-O, Tau, Sa Tau Kok, Tau, Gat-O, Lai Chi Wo, Sa Tau Kok to Gat-O only. So yeah, and here is the service. Closed on Tuesdays except public holidays, like I said earlier. Fortunately, today is Tuesday, and even though it's Chinese New Year's Eve, it's not a public holiday in Hong Kong, unlike the mainland over there, where today is a public holiday. So we can get a pretty good view of the buildings on the mainland Chinese side as we're walking back. you can just see the difference in the construction and architecture on the Chinese side. For one, a lot more high rises and built up buildings because, as I said, this is closer to their downtown, city center than whereas Hong Kong. This is very far from Hong Kong Island and Kowloon. So that's the mainland Chinese side, and come over here we can see the Hong Kong side. Colorful public housing estates, which is actually why I came here last time a year ago. A friend of mine, he's really into public housing estates in Hong Kong, and he's always visiting as many as he can, and he's wanted to visit these ones for years, and couldn't get the permit until last year. So yeah, that's why we came over last year. And that actually, if you can see in the foreground, that is a Chinese temple, although it's like completely rebuilt. It's cement, it's not like your traditional ones, but it's right there on the water. So yeah, nice little Chinese temple for the village. A couple of kids here fishing. A kid and his father. Yeah. And there's a boat coming across, little speedboat, fishing boat. You can see the boat and the Chinese temple there. Alright, yep. Not much to see, actually, so it's a long walk on this pier. I'll probably speed up a lot of this walk there and back. Well, photo here, Sa Tau Kok public pier in 2006, so not that long ago really. Wonder why they couldn't find an older picture. Mainland China on my right. Alright, so we're coming down, almost back to the village from our walk on the pier. We'll go up here and we'll end our little walking tour of Sa Tau Kok in just a minute. Yeah, Cape of Sa Tau Kok. Again, like I said, this mural is new from last year, which is nice that they've spruced up the place. Like, I noticed they had spruced up the place in anticipation for the tourist drive last year, but it seems they've done some more even since then, which is nice. And I've heard that secondary schools have started doing trips out here, so I guess bring more people in, since they made a big, well, they were talking about in the local news, they were trying to bring tourism here and kind of revitalize the area, which I guess they have. I mean, there's not, since you can't go onto Zhongying Street, there's not really that much here to really see or do. I mean, it's interesting to come and look at the area that previously you couldn't come, and yeah, nice to see the old village, although to be honest, like I said earlier, it's very similar to other small remote villages in Hong Kong, so in that way it's not that unique, but the shop houses are a bit a bit different. You don't see, like I said earlier, they're grade 2 historic buildings. There's not that many shop houses, old shop houses left in Hong Kong. So, and you can actually see the marker stone from the right angle, right? If you get up there and see Zhongying Street, at least a little bit of it, even though you can't go down and go shopping there. So, for people interested in border areas and the local history of Hong Kong, it's nice to come, you know, for an afternoon one time. And we can see up there they painted an old style street sign on the mural, but there's a real one up there. And you see here's the new style street sign, and there's the old style street sign. I quite like the old style, just, you know, it's an old, the Chinese is written right to left instead of in the new style it's written left to right, the same as English. Okay, so we'll walk up here. I'll show you one last thing and we'll call it a day. I believe I want to show you from the other side. Yeah, Sa Tau Kok market. So that's the wet market here. But that's not what I wanted to show you. Walk around and I'll show you the other side. Here's the entrance, Sa Tau Kok market. Looks like most things are closed today, probably because it's so close to Chinese New Year. They put up these statues of this cat and dog, etc. in quite a few places in Sa Tau Kok, and I think in other places in Hong Kong as well. Which is nice that they've kind of, like I said, cleaned up the Viles area. Looks like there's some shops and stuff down there, which don't remember them being there a year ago when I walked down to the Chinese temple down there. Yeah, let's walk a little bit that way, take a quick look. Yeah, these are the cat and the dog. Look, he's holding, they're fencing because Hong Kong has won gold medals 2 Olympics in a row in fencing. The Tokyo Olympics, we won gold in men's fencing, and the most recent Paris Olympics, we won gold in men's and women's fencing. So a bit of a fencing kick or drive in Hong Kong the last couple of years. All right. Yeah. All right, so this is close by to the Zhongying Street Garden and the Sa Tau Kok train station, which is just down there. But this is the Che Ping Street, so Car Park Street, right, which I showed you earlier. The Che Ping Street public toilet cum bathhouse. So this is your public toilet here, and these bathhouses used to be much more common in Hong Kong. Now I think they're mostly just in rural areas and villages. Actually, there's one on the street I live on in the village I live in, but I don't see many other bathhouses in Hong Kong anymore. Public toilets are still pretty common. Okay, so just down there, if you remember, is Car Park Street and Zhongying Street Garden. You can see in the background is the checkpoint, but you can't cross it onto Zhongying Street. And that building in the background there is in mainland China. All right, see you next time.